Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MLW Vault. I'm your host, Balin Weisler, bringing you episode number 10 of the show. We released our first episode in early January, one of the first days of the new year, and we released 9 episodes through January and up to late April here, as we have our final episode before the 2024 season of Major League Wiffle Ball begins. Like I said, I'm your host, Balin. Thank you so much for tuning back in here. If you followed last week and if you listened to the first maybe 5 or so minutes, I announced that now we're starting a weekly series on the show where every single Wednesday I will go through a series preview for the upcoming series on the MLW YouTube channel. So they release a new video every single Friday, so I'll have an episode up for you on Wednesday leading up to that Friday about the whole series. And on these Wednesday episodes, we're also going to kind of do short little analysis of the series that was before. So really, this is going to be your kind of one-stop shop for everything MLW updates on the weekly. So what these kind of series previews are going to entail, we are doing projected lineups. So what we think is who we think is going to be pitching, who we think their offense is going to look from like batting order from 1 to 5. We're going to do a pre-series standings check for every single week. Some storylines and / like what's up for grabs, what to watch for, and then at the end of the episode, my official prediction for how the series is going to unfold. So pretty straightforward. This is happening every single Wednesday. We're starting off here with the opening day series coming out this Friday, May 3rd, in a World Series rematch between the Metro Magic and Eastern Eagles. We will get to that later. But first, an around the league update for news around the league. So far, surprisingly, because this season starts in a couple days, the 2024 special series have not been announced like where they're being played. So we have the matchups. The 4 matchup are Diamondbacks versus Mallards, Cobras versus Wildcats, Magic versus Predators, and then Gators versus D-backs. So Diamondbacks get 2. I think everybody else gets 1. I think there's 1 team left out. The Eagles don't have 1. But anyway, so that's 4 of them in the regular season, including what we're expecting the World Series one to be. They just have not been announced yet. So be sure to stay tuned around all of MLW socials to see where those special series will be played. I know we've seen some like previews for Chicago. I saw one just because I saw the B and I couldn't recognize it anywhere else. But hopefully, maybe this will be the year that they play in a Major League Baseball stadium. Last year, they were going to go in Detroit for Comerica Park, home of the Tigers, but then that fell through and they had to play at some other local field. So hopefully this year that will happen, as we will get a first ever series played in a Major League ballpark. I'm sure they'll announce it soon. But I mean, if it's in Chicago, could we see Wrigley Field? That'd be insane if they booked that. But yeah, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, before we actually jump into the series preview just for this episode, because it's the first one of the season, we're going to go over my quick 2024 opening day power ranking. So I ranked all 8 teams coming into the season, and then we're going to go into our series preview. So up next here is the 2024 opening day power rankings. That's next. All right, so a couple days ago, I went through my full season predictions from top to bottom. Almost every single thing I could have predicted for the season, I did in the episode that came out a couple days ago. And so you kind of heard my thoughts on how these teams are going to shape out. So if you have listened in the past couple weeks, this might not be a surprise necessarily for you all, but here are my opening day power rankings. So 1 through 8, we're going to start at 8 and go all the way up to number 1. So at number 8, like I said, if you listen to the episode, this is no surprise. I have the Coastal Cobras at number 8, behind the Great Lakes Gators. This technically moves them down 1 spot from the ending of last season because they finished with a better record than the Gators, although they did miss out on the postseason. But I have them in the 8th place spot in this one. I think Drew took an approach this offseason that we were not expecting necessarily, and that we really haven't seen in, at least recent MLW era. We haven't seen the managerial strategy to get all of your friends together. Like that was kind of the Gators kind of game plan for a while. I think that's what the Preds too, when they for a couple of years where they didn't add anybody, the Preds were just scratched. Russell and Warda, who are friends, and the Gators were just Cheatham, Jorgensen, and Zerlag, who are friends. So, and Jason Chadwick is also definitely in that scenario. So, I've never really seen it all happen in one off season though, because I mean, for the price of Sawyer Bean, who is arguably their best player at the end of last season, they trade him away. They bring in Brendan Zerlag. They trade in for Caden Irwin and then draft a baseball player in the draft. So they do have a rookie, but that brings their team total to 8 players. And all 8 made the final rosters little graphic from that MLW posted a couple days ago. So Drew Davis is expecting 8 guys to show up at the field every single day. So I think that's too much to handle. I think it's just going to cut down on at bats from people that need it. And I think if their offense shows up pretty behind early on, that's going to be the factors that you're not getting your best players as much at bats, because I think we're expecting about a 4-man, maybe 5 batting lineup per game for each team. So that's cutting 4 to 3 guys every single game to just sit in the sidelines, which, I mean, we've heard if you listen to the Pipe It Up podcast that the Cobras were just building together a vibe tribe, getting the best guys together. Drews wanted to play with Caden forever. They wanted to bring in Brendan Zerlak forever, who aren't 2 of the most superstar players in the league, but they gave up stuff for them. The Cobras gave up the second pick. They gave up Sawyer Bean to bring in these guys. So, hey, maybe Drew Davis is onto something. Right now, though, I stay skeptical. So, Coastal Cobras, in my mind, are going in the 8th place spot. In 7th, they should be no surprise, have the Great Lakes Gators. Hey, it's progress that they're not in 8th place. We'll take the wins where you get them, Gators fans. I like this team's offseason. I really do. I think I've said this a lot over the past couple episodes, how the Gators, every move they made is not going to immediately result to wins. So in my predictions episode, I said they'd have a solid first half going 4-5, and then they'd fall off, I think, winning or going 2-4 maybe in their second half and finishing 6-9. So Gators 7 right now. They have the smallest lineup of anybody in the league. So they have 5 guys. Reese Harris did not make the cut, who was the guy that didn't make it. So the 5 is Chris Cheatham, who's a new manager, Jason Chadwick, Sawyer Bean, and then Jeremy Adams, who was their second overall draft pick, who people are second overall because they traded for Jeremy Adams. And then the 5th, who is an undrafted free agent, who's Aiden Richard, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't know a lot from their rookies. Apparently, Jeremy Adams is a stud. We don't know a lot about Aiden Richards yet. But this Gators is brand new, and that's what they needed. They need a breath of fresh air, and this is definitely what they got. We're expecting Sawyer Bean to be their game 1 guy. And I really think now this is a good thing. We're not going to see Chris Cheatham or Jason Chadwick on the mound. We didn't see Chadwick on the mound at all last season, but really, Brennan Jorgensen and Chris Cheatham split the Gators innings last season. So I'm guessing now they're going to try to limit Cheatham on the bump all season and really give it to the young guys. Give it to Sawyer, give it to Jeremy. And then maybe if Aiden Richard is also a good, maybe Aiden Richardson, I can't remember, if he's a good arm in the mound too. So Gators, a lot of question marks. They're probably the team that I'm most excited to watch for the season just because they're brand new. And I mean, maybe we've seen how draft picks can take a team from worst to first in this league. So maybe that's coming for the Gators, but I have them at 7th right now just because we haven't seen any games for them and they haven't really proved themselves. So Cobras 8, 7 Gators at number 6. Might be surprising. I have the Downtown Diamondbacks all the way down to number 6. There are 5 teams in my mind that are better than them right now. The loss of Shima starts this new era of Diamondbacks wiffle ball. They're kind of, World Series days in my mind are over. I don't really think they have a super massive shot at it this season. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. Any team with Jimmy Norb definitely has a shot. But I mean, again, kind of similar to the Gators, this team has a lot of question marks. So they're returning. It's a almost identical team from last season, minus the subtraction of Michael Shima, which I think is a killer for them. I'm not going to lie. He wasn't the most productive hitter at the plate, but just, having Shima there for the D-backs makes them the Diamondbacks. So they replaced him with Carter Richard, who was their 4th overall draft pick, who was, I think, a pitcher and hitter. So actually, no, I believe he's just a hitter. So Jimmy Norp and Trey Flood are going to be manning their bullpen. And I mean, even, with Shima being his, the batter that he was, the Diamondbacks had an 8-1 start, and they finished with 10 wins last season. They're still one of the best teams in the league. So, D-backs are hot and cold. We could see them have a 2-7 first half. We could see them have an 8-1 half. It does depend on Jimmy North, but it depends on the depth that this team has. It depends if Trey Flood can be that all-star pitcher that he was last season. It depends if they can get quality at-bats from Jacob Pishka and Jonah Heath. Jonah Heath is a massive part to this D-backs lineup. So, Downtown Diamondbacks right now at 6. I think, the fifth place team in my mind is better than them right now, and that is the Western Wildcats at number 5. I think I kind of like the Cats this year. Wildcats were another team in my mind that needed fresh air. I think it was growing a little stale of that trio, of that just dependent trio that they had of Kyle, Nick Saylor, and Jackson Pearson. So bringing in these 2 new draft picks who are really, really solid are going to do super good for this Wildcats team. Patrick Ballman and Ty Fresnick, who can be both two-way hitters or two-way players on the mound and at the plate. And then, of course, you have Kyle. I don't want to say this team is dependent, but we know what we're getting from Kyle. We know what we're getting from Pearson. I don't think he's going to pitch as much as he did last season, but we did see him pitch in spring training. But I think a big teller for if this Wildcats team is going to be contending or not is within Nick Saylor. He had a incredible freshman and sophomore seasons for Nick Saylor. And then last 2, he has been not great. And he just hasn't had that home run ball go for him that we saw him in that 2021 season. So I believe I'm not giving up hope on him at all. Similar to I'm still banking on Daniel Schultz. I don't think he's done on the rubber. I think Nick Saylor can definitely still be that guy. And it's not like we're asking for Nick Saylor to have one of those tremendous seasons. Like, I believe he hit 11 home runs in 2021. That was year the Cats lost in the World Series. So we're not asking for 11. We're not asking for that probably ridiculous OPS. We're asking for get a high on base, get some clutch base hits, knock at some RBIs, and try to hit. 5 home runs. Just asking only 5 for Nick Saylor doesn't seem like a lot, but Western Wildcats are my team at 5th. Another team I'm super excited for, the Wildcats and Diamondbacks play in Slate 1, which is the first time they will meet. No, it's actually not. They played in opening day of the 2022 season after they played in the World Series. So that team has some history. Those were 2 of the best series we've ever seen. So far to recap, Cobras at 8, Gators at 7, Diamondbacks at 6, and Western Wildcats at number 5. Opening up the top half of teams here at number 4, this team is the most hit or miss team in the league. And at number 4, I have the Pacific Predators. This is the same spot that they finished in last year after their ALCS loss to the Metro Magic. The Preds. Any team that has Kyle Schultz right now, of the level of wiffle ball he's playing, are contenders. The Predators are contenders in 2024, hands down, without a doubt. And they did do what kind of was on their off-season to-do list, in my mind, was to get a more quality backup arm than Stephen McGlade. So now we're expecting in Game 2 to start getting game starts from Levi Fleer, who was their draft pick. We saw him debut in spring training. He had some pretty good stuff. Did get hit around, but thank God that happened in spring training and not in the actual season. So Preds at number 4. Again, this team it's pretty simple. They're kind of secretly having a bigger lineup now because McGlade is returning on the team this season, although I think he's solely relief pitching at this point. I don't know how much he's going to start games. I guess it depends on how Levi Fleer does. But so if the Preds, it's just, I don't know. This offense is very reliant around Ryan Kratch. And I think Russell, the success that Brendan Russell has in the first series of every single season is unmatched. He's the MVP in the month of May. So after that, we don't see him perform that well. This team is, the thing about the Preds, I believe in my mind, I don't have the numbers pulled up, but this team feels like a super low on base team. and like a super low batting average. And it feels like a lot of this lineup consists of 3 outcome hitters, which, if you're familiar with baseball, 3 outcome hitter is a batter that either walks, strikeouts, or hits a home run. And I feel like that encapsulates this Predators um, offense in a nutshell. Is they are every single guy on this team is a 3 outcome hitter. I think I would maybe take out Alec Warda from that bunch just because, he can scurry over to get doubles and stuff, get like really stretches infield hits. So um the Preds were their team to wait and see, because for the past 2 seasons, I remember in 2022, they started super hot, either 6 or 7 wins at the break, and then fell off. And I don't know if they even played in the ALCS that year. Then last season, starting 2-7, team looks lost, really cannot get a hit. That was when RJ Walgate appeared on the scene when the Magic swept them. And then the second half, they double sweeped. They were 6-0. They somehow finished with an over 500 record after starting 2-7. And then, they work their postseason magic against the Wildcats, and then when they lost to the Magic in the ALCS. So the Preds and Eagles have a very similar problem of having just one good half and one bad half. So Predators and Eagles really I want 2 consistent halves, and then those teams are really good. I think Preds Eagles is a sneaky World Series pick, 100%. But talking about the Eagles, that transitions perfectly into my number 3 team. Here in the top 3 to start 2024, I have the Eastern Eagles at number 3. This team is good. This team is really good. I agree that Daniel Schultz declined a draft pick. I think that's a great call for them. This team is full. I am a very big advocate for keeping the lineup at 6 guys. I think I've made that very clear. I love the Gators only working in 5. I think 6 is a perfect spot, though. And Dallas Allen is this entire team. He is due for an MVP in a couple of seasons. We'll talk about this Eagles team very soon because, they're the whole topic of this series preview against the Magic. So it's going to be interesting to see their pitching rotation this season, because we saw Blade Walker that entire second half pitch pretty well, and he was their second half hitter from starting, I think, slate 3 up until their World Series loss. So I like this Eagles, though. Their offense is sneaky good. Dallas Allen is solid. They have 4. They have a 4-headed monster at the plate. And Daniel Schultz, who can be really good at hitting. Zach Whalen, who's an on-base machine. Landon Urgatis, who's so underrated. And then not forget the best player on the team, Dallas Allen. So Eagles, if they follow success like the Preds, they put together 2 halves, this team can be really good. So Eastern Eagles at number 3. We'll talk about them later, though. That means at number 2 here, I can put together my number 1. But these 2 teams are actually my World Series pick. So at number 2, I have the Midwest Mallards, which leaves the Metro Magic to be at number 1. Let's talk about the Mallards first. In last week's episode, when I said that the Mallards were my World Series pick, I talked very highly of them. I have a world of expectations for the Ducks in 2024. Tommy Coughlin said specifically that he was wanting to make a win-now move, and this was perfect. You upgrade Caden Irwin. Well, I don't know about upgrade. You switch him out. I think that was getting a little stale. I think that's good to move him out. And you bring in a better player all around in Brennan Jorgensen. So the offense from the Mallards is the best offense in the league. And I don't think it's even close, if I'm going to be honest. It's not close. With an offense that the first 3 batters you face are Tommy Coughlin, who had led the league in home runs last year, Jordan Robles, who is always one of the best hitters, and then Brennan Jorgensen, who just had a plus 300 year with 5 home runs, and we didn't even get to see him in the postseason. So the Ducks have the best offense without a doubt. The pitching does worry me just a bit because I don't think they have one of the best rotations. But it's going to also depend on Preston Colm, because from the sounds of it, Preston Colm is going to be that Game 2 starter for the Midwest Mallards. They're going to go kind of sandwiched by starting games of Jordan Robles. But remember, this team has pitching depth. I could see them throwing in Jorgensen, who pitched half the innings for the Gators last season. I could see them. We saw Brendan Davenport on the bump last season. Tommy's not good, but we didn't really see Matt Carlington, though. So, outside of Jordan, they have 3 outlets on the mound that they can go to between Colm, Jorgensen, and Davenport. So I like how Tommy kind of introduced Brendan Davenport onto the mound last year. We'll see how much playing time he gets this season, but Midwest Mounds at my number 2 spot. They are my World Series pick in 2024. And then, which leaves me with number 1, the Metro Magic as the best team coming into 2024. This is their first time in number 1 in the power rankings for official MLW, and then I agree with them. The you can't not put them at number 1 right now because we haven't seen them lose. We haven't seen them lose with the team that they have right now. And I mean, I think they're gonna be great. I predicted them to make it to the World Series again. I predicted them to have a tremendous regular season, going 11-4. And I mean, this team follows a recipe for success, and I've said this multiple times about the Magic and how it's a very systematic. Everybody does their job, and the team does good game plan. So it's Walgate pitches good. Grant Miller gets on base more than he doesn't. Jack Agner can hit a home run. Jordan Curdy is good. If Grant Miller is gone, this team's offense is not good. It's not great, that's for sure. But I'm really interested to see how Jack Agner incorporates AJ Ackerman into this lineup for the Magic because of he's coming off the greatest series of his career in that World Series. AJ Ackerman won World Series MVP over RJ Walgate and Grant Miller. So Metro Magic number 1. Again, I'm going to talk about them for the rest of the episode because they are the topic, but ladies and gentlemen, those are my 2024 MLW Opening Day Power Rankings. At number 1, Metro Magic. Number 2, Midwest Mallards. Number 3, the Eagles. 4, the Preds. 5, the Wildcats. 6, the Diamondbacks. 7, the Gators. Bringing up the rear. Number 8, the Coastal Cobras. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next on MLW Vault, let's begin our series preview here as we go into the matchups and pre-series standing check-ins next on MLW Vault. All right, so all of these episodes now coming out every Wednesday are going to follow the same script of in order, going over the matchup, the pre-series standings check-in, the expected batting lineups for each team, the expected pitching matchups for all 3 games, series storylines, kind of what to watch for, what's up for grabs, and then my official series prediction. So starting off here, the matchup at hand, 2024 Major League Wiffle Ball Opening Day, the Metro Magic versus the Eastern Eagles. Both teams opening up their series or seasons here. No wins, no losses, a clean slate here to start the season. There is 0 standings to go over, just besides, kind of the order of how they ended last year in the NL. It was 1 to 4 was Eagles, Mallards, Diamondbacks, and Gators. Then the American League was Magic, Predators, Wildcats, and Cobras. So, again, no really pre-series standings to go over here. But jumping to the expected batting lineups. So this one is, pretty difficult to predict here just because sometimes a manager will go with 4 guys, some of them will go with 5. I just went with a 5-guy lineup for both teams and just kind of ranked them from best hitter to least best hitter, essentially. So for the Magic on leadoff, I have Grant Miller, followed by Jack Agner, then AJ Ackerman at 3, Trevor Bonham at 4, and then Jordan Curdy at 5. Remember, RJ Walgate did not hit a lot last season, which, I mean, that's fine because he made up for it as a pitcher. So I'm definitely expecting that to keep the same game plan. I'm expecting the Magic to look rather identical from last season. Then the Eagles, Dallas Allen on leadoff, followed by Landon Urgaitis at 2, Daniel Schultz at number 3, Zach Whalen at 4, and Blade Walker at 5. Now, if I was the manager for the Eagles and I was building this lineup, I would honestly go. I'd go Zach Whalen at leadoff because he has a high on base. I'm going Whalen at 2. I'm going Landon Urgaitis at number 2 at the 2-hole hitter. So we got Zach Whalen and then Landon Urgaitis. In the 3 spot, I'm taking Dallas Allen. And the 4 is Daniel Schultz. And then 5 is Blade Walker. This team also has Carson Urgaitis, who's Landon's brother. I'm not sure how they're going to incorporate him there, but I think that's the best way to handle this Eagles lineup kind of in like a baseball sense because you got on base to lead off. You got a solid hitter at number 2, Allen, who is an RBI guy at number 3, and then Daniel Schultz, in my mind, has really grown into a power hitter at cleanup. So Eagles, that's definitely how I do it. If I were the Magic, I mean, you just want to put Grant Miller at 3 or 4 just to have guys on base for when he hits. Maybe have Ackerman on leadoff. There's times with Jordan Curdy there's times last season where Jordan Curdy was one of the best hitters for the Magic. So can maybe see him in like a 1, 2, or 3 spot. But really, the only hitter of the Magic that anybody should be scared of is Jack Agner. I mean, not catching straight. Grant Miller. I was gonna say Jack Agner. He can hit some home runs. He was kind of swinging at the plate last season. We love to see it. And of course, AJ Ackerman can bounce at any series at any like moment. So those are the expected batting lineups. Our projected starting pitching matchups here. In game number 1 of the season, we have RJ Walgate versus Dallas Allen. 2 incredible starting pitchers. In my mind, I give the edge to RJ Walgate right now. I mean, I have to because he's a defending Cy Young. But I predicted last episode that Dallas Allen would lead the league in pitching wins and he would win this season's Cy Young. So for game 1, RJ Walgate versus Dallas Allen. Game 2 is their second arms, which is Trevor Bonham versus Blade Walker. And then game 3 is that same pitching matchup of Walgate and Dallas Allen. So those were your expected lineups here. Nothing, super crazy there. Let's go into some series storylines because there are a lot more than I think just a World Series rematch. As that is number 1 most important though, is this is a World Series rematch. Last year they met at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the Metro Magic. Well, I guess I'll start with the Eagles. They won the first 2 games. I can't remember the scores exactly, but I know the Eagles definitely won those 2 games for sure. And then the Magic come back and win 3 in a row to win the World Series. So the Eagles are hungry for their revenge. And this, in my mind, this seems like this is an Eagles redemption season. Last year, they played underdogs all throughout the postseason. They proved everybody wrong. I don't think, besides Eagles fans, like if true, kind of third-party MLW fans voting on that NLDS, I would be surprised if more than 10% of the picks chose the Eagles over the Diamondbacks. Because going into that series, the Diamondbacks were 10-5, so they had an incredible regular season, and then the Eagles were what were they? They were either 7-8 or 8-7, one of those 2 for the Eagles. So they beat the D-backs 2-1, and then they go with the Mallards, and we're like, okay, with the Eagles beating the D-backs, now the Mallards are in the World Series, and then the Eagles win and they beat the Mallards, and then they go up 2-0 in the World Series. So they proved everybody wrong. As they, this season they technically come into this season as National League favorites because they won it last year. Although I'd probably give that title to the Mallards for the NL favorites. But the Eagles, this is their redemption course. This is where it starts. It has to start off on a good foot for them because we've seen with the Eagles that like a half of their season can go down pretty quickly. They started 1-5 last year with a sweep from the Diamondbacks in Slate 2 in that Detroit series. So I mean, I think this is an important series for them to start off on the right foot and really try to lift themselves up to have a good 5 series going into the postseason. So Eagles redemption season starts. But on the other side of the field, the Metro Magic begin their encore. The Magic are looking to go back-to-back for the first time since the 2021-2022 Diamondbacks, as they won their first team title in 2023. The Magic are going to have a target on their back. That is for sure, because they are kind of the new kids on the block. Nobody expected the Magic to be that good last year. Not even Jack did. I remember in a Pipe It Up episode, Jack said that RJ Walgate was a guy that was hopefully going to get some reps, see if he can show up to a couple series and be in the environment, not be their game 1 starting pitcher in the World Series and not win the Cy Young as a 16, 17-year-old. So, Magic, I think this is also for the first time that the Metro Magic have expectations. And that might be a new thing for this team to handle, because every single season they're coming off of a lackluster regular season. They string together some magic in the second half, or maybe even in the postseason a little bit. But the Magic this year, they're first place in the power rankings of MLW. That was their power rankings, and I agree with them at number 1. So they got a target on their back, and they're not the underdogs. They got people watching them now. So we will see how that really affects their team. And then this is an interesting one for the Eagles to watch for, is Daniel Schultz in pitching. So for the entire history of the Eagles franchise, Daniel Schultz has been their guy. He's been their pitcher. He was a tremendous pitcher for a long time. That kind of run, he won the World Series, won the MVP in 2014. It might have been 2016. Where Daniel Schultz won it, and he has, I believe, 4 Cy Youngs to his name. So he is an incredible pitcher. But for the first time ever last season, he stepped back and was a sole manager and hitter. So we saw him pitch in the spring training video, so that's a good sign. I'm kind of rooting for his comeback, because we have a smaller sample size from Blade Walker, definitely smaller than we'd like for him. So, I think it's very possible that we see Daniel Schultz get some pitching time in this series. Maybe if it's maybe even he just acts as a relief arm this season. So, Daniel Schultz in pitching, be sure to watch that. See if he gets some time on the rubber for the first time in probably like about a year. All right, one final thing to watch for here in this series is the start to Grant Miller and RJ Walgate's sophomore seasons. So for the first time ever, RJ Walgate and Grant Miller won co-rookie of the year. So they were the first ever players. Apparently the vote was super close. In my mind, it went to RJ Walgate. I like the idea that Walgate's rookie of the year because kind of barely beats him out, because Grant Miller has been playing this sport for a long time, or that was stupid, for a longer time. God, okay. And so anyway, these two guys, they're also going to have a ton of expectations. I don't think we've seen anybody, maybe besides, I'm just thinking of really high rookie of the years. Chris Cheatham was really good. Did Dallas Allen win it? I can't even remember Jordan Robles, I guess, but I feel like if you win co-rookie of the year and you win the World Series on the same year, which I'm sure that hasn't happened a ton besides, Chris Cheatham in 2020, they have expectations. That's going to be kind of the name of the game for the Magic this season. Can Grant Miller back it up with a Silver Slugger year? I'm going to go yes. And can RJ Walgate do good on the Cy Young? Yes, he can. I wouldn't be surprised if kind of Grant Miller has a little bit more longevity than RJ Walgate and doesn't really kind of fizz out than more than Walgate will, but I'm not saying he will at all. I have really, really high hopes for these two. So I'm going to watch for their sophomore seasons. They're still very new to the league. They kind of got to experience it all, though, their first season, their rookie year, their freshman year. World Series, they got 2 special series because they got to play the Cobras in St. Louis and then got to play in Atlanta for Mercedes-Benz. They win Rookie of the Year. They both come away with 2 awards. A World Series title. Not a lot more you can knock off the list in an MLW player like resume sense. So, Grant Miller and RJ Walgate, hats off to them. Very excited to see them play this Friday to begin their sophomore season. Got high hopes for them. All right. Second to last segment here before we get into my full series prediction. What's up for grabs? So kind of early on in the season here, there's not going to be a ton of stuff that will be up for grabs. But I feel like, not numbers wise, but I kind of touched on this earlier, but I feel like morale wise, this feels like a much heavier series for the Eagles than it is for the Magic, right? The Magic lost a series last year without Grant Miller, so they haven't experienced that super big loss. They have never gotten swept with this new roster. So I just think, for how inconsistent the Eagles can get and how it kind of the wheels can fall off the bus quickly, I think it is very important for them to start the year with 2 wins on the mound rather than 1. So, just more a morale version for the Eagles over than the Magic, just because, the Magic, their experience, they've won the World Series. A couple guys in this team have been a part of bad Magic teams. Jack Agnew, Trevor Bonham, and Jordan Curdy have all been a part of pretty bad Magic teams. But so I guess you could say that R.J. Walgate and Grant Miller and A.J. Ackerman kind of need that losing experience because, sometimes all the time, a loss can make a team better. But definitely morale-wise, I think the Eagles, it's going to be big for them if they start the year in the win department. So it is that time. We have reached the end of episode number 10. It is my official series prediction. Now, going to go game by game. I did not write down my game by game predictions. I just have my full season or full series prediction here at the end. But I'm gonna go game 1 with RJ Walgate and Dallas Allen. I'm gonna go RJ Walgate starts it off hot. I think the Magic will come out of the gate very fast and then will ultimately do everything they did last year in game number 1. I think Walgate will pitch maybe 3-inning shutout, maybe 3-inning 1-run. Then Grant Miller expecting home run, at least 1 hit for Grant Miller the first game. So I'm going to go a Metro Magic win in game number 1. And then game number 2, it's Trevor Bonham versus Blade Walker. Give me Bonham for the Magic getting the win there in game 2. No, sorry. Give me Blade Walker for the Eagles getting the win in game 2. I think they will get to Trevor Bonham early on, and then Blade Walker will hold on to give the Eagles a win. Then in a game 3 rubber match, give me my Cy Young pick, Dallas Allen, pulling through for the Eastern Eagles as they're going to get their much-needed gritty victory here. 2-1. Eagles win the series is my prediction for opening day. Would not be surprised whatsoever if the Magic get it done, though. I think the Metro Magic are a better team than the Eagles, but I think this team is hungry. Dallas Allen has shown so much maturity. He is starving to hold up that World Series trophy. He has yet to do so in his career. I think this Eagles team is hungry. They're going to start their redemption season off hot with a 2-1 series win. Magic going to start 1-2, but I think they will bounce back super quickly. So Eagles 2-1, and my official opening day prediction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to our first ever series preview. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday for our next one, which is between the Mallards and Gators, which is going to be super interesting. We get to see a Brendan Jorgensen versus the Gators, kind of revenge series for Jorgensen here early on in the year. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Have fun on Friday watching the 2024 season begin. I'll see you all next Wednesday. Peace.